Welcome, my little triglets. This is the last section in chapter 6. So, you know what that means. We're going to be doing a test very soon. So, section 6.6. All right, we're going to be solving more equations. Let's look at this one. So, if this were an algebra equation, I would divide both sides by 4. So, I do the same thing here. And I get cosine squared equals 3/4. And then I want to scare both sides, actually square root, not scare. So we're going to get cosine of x equals plus or minus the square root of 3 over 2, because square root of 4 is 2. Now where that happens, on the circle, cosine square root of 3 here, negative square root of 3 here, a positive here, and a negative here. So all 4 places. So pi over 6, 5 pi over 6, 7 pi over 6, and 11 pi over 6. So those are all the solutions for that one. Okay, let's try another one. What if I have 2 cosine squared plus 3 cosine minus 2? All right, let's look at that in the algebra realm here. 2x squared plus 3x minus 2. What would you do to solve that one? Well, hopefully you know to either factor or use quadratic formula. Let's factor first, 2x and x. This negative 2 I'm going to put in as a 2 and a 1. The outside is 4x, the inside is x. Together I need it to make 3x, so I need this plus and that minus, so plus and minus. And I get 2x minus 1 equals 0, and x plus 2 equals 0. And we just keep solving. Bring the 1 over, divide by 2. Bring the 2 over. So that would be the solution in algebra. But if we do the trig way, let's go back to the black, we still are going to factor. It's just going to have some cosines in it instead of x. So 2 cosine minus 1 and cosine plus 2. So it's this and this is the same. So now we do 2 cosine x minus 1 equals 0. So cosine x equals a half. And cosine x equals negative 2. Now this one, on our circle, cosine is a half right here and right here. So that's pi over 3. And this one way down here is 5 pi over 3. Now, negative 2 is not on our circle, but if you remember from days gone by, cosine and sine cannot be past 1. The radius and the x-axis are never going to be, the combination of x over r is never going to be greater than 1 or negative 1. So this we just throw out. Now, if you weren't remembering that, you'd take the inverse cosine of negative 2 and you will see that it says error. So then that should be the indication that it's not going to work. All right, so far so good. Let's do one that may not factor. And remember, we have negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a is our quadratic formula. So let's start out with 2 sine squared x equals 1 plus 2 sine x. Now you need to start recognizing when it's a quadratic or not. If you see a squared and a regular x, then that's your clue that it's a quadratic. So we need to get everything on the left side. So I'm going to subtract 1 and subtract 2 sine x. So I get that, and equals 0. So you can try to factor it, but it's not going to work. So instead, we're going to use a quadratic formula. This is a, this is b, and this is c. So we'll plug it in. So negative b would be 2 plus or minus b squared is 4 minus 4ac over 2a. All right, so 2 plus or minus. All of this inside here gets to be 12. And then factor out a 4 out of the 12, and you get 2 plus or minus 2 root 3 over 4. Now doing heart surgery, actually we don't need to do heart surgery. What we need to do is put these in decimal form. So the plus version of this, if I add on my calculator 2 plus 2 root 3 over 4, I would get 1.366. The minus version, if I do 2 minus 2 root 3 over 4, I'll get negative 0.366. Now it's just kind of coincidence they're both 366. That doesn't usually come out that way. Now what did we say about sines and cosines being above 1? We can just throw that one out. So right now our only solution is sine x equals negative 0.366. But I don't want sine x, I want x. So I have to do the inverse sine of negative 0.366. You do that, you get negative 0.3747. Rounding that, I'm just going to say negative 0.37. Now that is in the fourth quadrant. Remember, all the way over to here would be negative 3.14. So negative 0.37 is about here. There are two answers. Okay, remember sine is negative in the first and fourth quadrant. So there's another answer over here. So what you can do, this is negative 0.37. What you should do to get the positive version, the directions say between 0 and 2 pi. So this negative is no good. We need to make it positive. So I'm just going to add 2 pi to it to get its coterminal angle. So if I add 2 pi to that, I get 5.91. So this, instead of being negative 0.37, is 5.91. Now to get this one, I need to say 3.14 plus 0.37. Plus 0.37. And that would give me 3.51. So that's the other answer over here. So a picture is really helpful to figure out, am I adding 2 pi, am I subtracting, am I adding pi, what's going on? But these are the two answers, okay? Instead of x, if you want to think of this as the alien to help you remember that there's going to be two answers, that would be great too. But there's always going to be two when you take the inverse sine or inverse cosine, unless it's right on the axis. All right, well that's it today, short lesson. Using the factoring or quadratic formula and then coming up with one or two solutions, mostly two. All right, have a good day. Ta-ta for now.